rug, and the rug was wet.
Escutia is 18 and is questioning whether Pájaro can remain home due to the effects of human-caused climate change.
What do you think your future will look like if you stay here?
My future, I feel like it will look like gone.
Gone, because the climate the levee was designed for no longer exists. For NPR News, I'm Ezra David Romero.
This is Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm Michelle Martin.
And I'm Steve Inskeep.
Marketplace Morning Report is coming up next, and then in 10 minutes at 9 o'clock, it's the BBC NewsHour on 93.9 FM. Let's check in with London to see what they're working on. London, good morning.
Good morning, WNYC. I'm Paul Henley. On NewsHour today, more Israeli-Palestinian clashes at the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. And the Russian artist jailed for replacing supermarket labels with anti-war messages. That's BBC NewsHour, coming up at 9 on 93.9 FM WNYC.
52 and overcast now. Some fog out there as well. Drizzle, chance of light rain today and fog, and cloudy, and 54 for a high. All the way up to 77 tomorrow with chances of showers and thunderstorms. Again, 52 with clouds at 8:51.
Support for WNYC comes from Foreman School, a Connecticut co-ed college prep school dedicated to empowering students with language-based learning differences and executive function deficits, hosting an open house on Friday, April 21st. Information at foremanSchool.org. Leadership support for WNYC's local and global news coverage is provided by the Jerome L. Green Foundation, partnering with organizations to promote justice and equality for all New Yorkers.
Legendary New York City spaces like the Palladium, Paradise Garage, and the Savoy Ballroom shaped modern music and culture. Now Lincoln Center is celebrating that legacy with a series of performances by different artists, including Oscar winner Ariana DeBose. On the next All of It, she joins us in studio to preview her show, which is packed with medleys, mashups, and candid storytelling. I'm Allison Stewart. Join me for All of It, weekdays at noon on WNYC.
Resistance is futile in the quest for new superconducting technology.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by VantageScore. VantageScore's credit scoring models help expand financial inclusion by leveraging predictive analytics at VantageScore.com.
I'm David Brancaccio in New York. First, the number of job openings fell by more than expected, according to official data yesterday. Help-wanted postings were down by 600,000 in February, following a drop the month before. That still leaves nearly 10 million jobs looking for workers to fill those jobs, well above pre-pandemic levels. Here's Marketplace's Mitchell Hartman.
So far, strong job creation and low unemployment have kept the post-pandemic economy humming, says Eric Friedman at U.S. Bank.
One of the key tenets of the economic resiliency has been strength in the jobs market and also in real wages.
Job growth has been so strong in part because we're still building back from a deep hollowing out early in the pandemic.
We're still 3 million jobs below the pre-pandemic trend.
That's economist Robert Frick at Navy Federal Credit Union.
Well over 1 million are in vital industries, healthcare, education, government. There's another 1 million jobs missing in leisure and hospitality. Americans want to eat out and want to go on trips.
Even as employers post fewer job openings, they're still facing labor shortages, says Jim McCoy at the Manpower Group.
We still have a lot of employers that are struggling to fill mission-critical jobs.
Like registered nurse, software developer, long-haul trucker. McCoy says economic uncertainty is making employers edgy and changing how they hire from a staffing firm like his.
They're going back to a more traditional approach, bringing on contract workers first, then either converting them or letting those contracts expire.
Recently, there's been a wave of layoffs in tech and media, but other than that, most companies aren't trimming their workforces, at least not yet, says Nationwide economist Ben Ayers.
You don't want to actively cut workers because then you're not able to keep up with the demand that you have, but maybe you won't hire as many, or when someone leaves, maybe you won't hire or replace them right away.
Ayers says businesses are getting more cautious and cost-conscious, trying to protect the bottom line against what might be worse times to come.
Those much higher interest rates, the potential for a recession down the road, starting to impact hiring decisions by many businesses.
Most economists predict a gradual slowdown in job creation rather than a sharp, quick cratering in the job market anytime soon. I'm Mitchell Hartman for Marketplace.
S&P futures are down 0.3% ahead of the formal opening of stock markets in about half an hour. And with the government reports on hiring due at the end of this week, we just got a preview. The payroll processor, ADP, says 145,000 jobs were on payrolls last month, more of them a decline from February and less than expected, a hint of the weakening that policymakers want to see to fight inflation.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by SoFi. With a SoFi High Yield Savings Account, members can earn more money on their money. Plus, deposits are FDIC insured. Learn more at SoFi.com, SoFi.com. Get your money right. SoFi Bank N.A. member FDIC.
You ever touch an extension cord and notice it's warm? If not, you'll definitely have noticed that computers have fans to blow off excess heat. Now, this is because things that carry electricity, wires, don't do that perfectly. Some of the electricity turns into what is often wasted heat. If you could make a perfect conductor, you could send electricity anywhere with no loss of power at all. Batteries could go longer, computers could run faster and cheaper. Now, you can make superconductors now, but only if the system is cold, and I mean cold. But in recent weeks, researchers at the University of Rochester in New York announced a possible way to do superconducting at room temperature. If this pans out, and it would take years to put this to practical use, ambient temperature superconducting would be up there with the light bulb or the wheel. Leading the research team is Ranga Dias, a professor of mechanical engineering and physics at the University of Rochester. Dr. Dias, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Give me the, elevator pitch about why you chose to work in this area on a way to deliver superconductivity when you don't have to cool things down to get it to work.
Superconducting is always very fascinating research direction because of some of these remarkable properties that we can use to advance the technology that we're using today. The impact that we can have for society is enormous. So I thought it was a cool problem to jump into.
Do you think that in your lifetime we will see superconductivity at ambient temperatures in use in the energy grid and in transport, that it'll become part of our lives in your lifetime, or is that still for another generation?
Definitely during my lifetime, I think this will happen because the way the current process is going and then our understanding of these hydrogen-rich materials is working, it's difficult for me to imagine that we will not get there.
A journal had to retract a previous article that came from your team. What do you say to people who are therefore extra skeptical of this new work?
One thing I wanted to point out that the previous work was retracted based on the data analysis technique that we use and has nothing to do with the data we presented or anything. So what we did was we redid the experiment, reconfirm it, and we have done this one outside our laboratory. So we did in Argonne National Lab, in front of live audience. Other scientists were witness the superconducting transition and then put together another, the manuscript, and then we submit to the Nature Journal. So it's under review now in Nature Journal.
I don't know if you noticed this, but we're in the midst of the 75th anniversary of the invention of the transistor. That was an invention that also changed the world. So, here you are trying to move forward in this other area that potentially revolutionizes a lot in the way that the semiconductor revolution did.
I'd say this is, in the same level of a paradigm shift. You can really go from semiconducting industry to superconducting industry. This really set the stage to, revolutionize how electricity is transferred. And that has a major impact on how we can transmit and store energy. And, anything that we use in semiconductors, can be replaced with this superconducting wires or nanoribbon. It may take time people to see it and feel it, but I'm sure it will happen in coming decades.
Ranga Dias is a professor of mechanical engineering and physics at the University of Rochester in New York. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I also note the current approach there requires a really rare element, so that's another constraint. And no superconductor story would be complete without mentioning that the technology, if it really happens, could make super-fast, efficient trains that float above the rails. It's the Marketplace Morning Report from APM, American Public Media.